Got it. All right. We are the bottom of Testament base. So yesterday we were discussing the part of the Mishnah on top of Testament base, which discussed sukkah al gabi sukkah. So you have one sukkah on top of another sukkah, and then basically the Brisa just said there's four scenarios of where you can. There's four possibilities, right? There's either both the top and bottom are kosher, and we already stated that case. Those schachs have been 20 amos. The bottom one doesn't have kosher schach, and therefore basically the top schach is acting as the schach for both of them, right? Then we have case where both of them are puzzle. The top one is too tall. The bottom one doesn't have enough shade, right? And then the bottom one does have shade, but the top one also has shade. That's sukkah gabe sukkah. And then there's a third case of the top one is kosher and the bottom one is puzzle. And the fourth case is the bottom one's kosher and the top one's puzzle. Now, so we're describing those two cases now. So Pamim, is it 2 lines from the bottom, right? Is that where you are? Yeah? So Pamim there are also times where you create a scenario where the bottom one is kosher and the top one is puzzle, right in the bottom Testament base, bottom line. Right? Yeah, we're about to turn right now. Right? So it says Psula. Hey Chidami. What's the case of where the bottom sukkah would be good, the top one is no good? So Hey Chidami could go. The bottom one has plenty of schach. The elyoina chamasam meruba mitzilasa, and the top one has not enough schach. So the bottom one has good schach. The top one doesn't have good schach. And both of them are within 20 amos. Right. So therefore, the top one doesn't have a din of schach puzzle. It doesn't. Its shade is not too high. Rather, it's just not enough schach, right? It's only 40%. So therefore, the top one's no good. The bottom one's good because the bottom one has enough schach. There are times where the top one is good and the bottom one is no good. Both of them have proper amount of shade. The and the top one is within 20 amos. And therefore, the reason why the bottom one is no good because it has a din of sukkah al gabi sukkah. And we said yesterday the halach is you have to be in a sukkah, not in a sukkah under a sukkah, right? That's a special din we learned from the pasuk of the sukkahs, right? And then the top one is good because it's under 20 amos and it has enough shade. So the Gemara says, Pshita, it's obvious. These cases, what's the chiddush here? So the Gemara answers no. Case number 3, which is the first case we did today, where the bottom one is good and the top one is puzzle. That was the more of a chiddush. Maybe we're talking about a case where since the top one is no good, maybe we call that schach puzzle. And if that schach puzzle, let's say there was 30% schach puzzle, and let's say the bottom one had enough shade of 70%. Maybe you do the subtraction theory, which we talked about yesterday. It'll be, you have 70% on the bottom minus the 30% on top because it's no good, right? And therefore, maybe it's a case of now you only have 40% on the bottom that is providing schach is providing the shade from the sun and not being blocked off from the level above it, right? So nigzar dilam mitzvah schach possible schach kasher kamash balon that we do not. Fine. Period. New case. Kama yehei bein sukkah l'sukkah v'tei tachtana psula. So we talked about a case you can't have sukkah gabi sukkah. So how much space do you need between the two roofs? So Amar Rav Huna tefach. You have one tefach, right, in between. Basically, you have a schach right here. You go up 6 inches higher, which is more than a tefach. Another schach, that's called sukkah gabi sukkah. B'chiddush. All right. So because we find when it comes to the halachas of ohel, right? On ohel, that is a tefach. Now we learn in the Mishnah tefach al tefach brum tefach. If you have something which is a tefach by tefach area, which is a height of a tefach, maybe it's a tuma. The chayz is a tuma, right? That it basically traps the tuma and it spreads it. It spreads it about pachas merum tefach. But if it's less than a tefach, if the mace, the dead body, let's say was a half a tefach, right? There was a cover just above the body. They wanted to cover the body, but it's only half tefach. So then the tuma does not get stopped by the ohel and it passes. Rather, it goes all the way through ad the rakia until the sky. It doesn't stop it. So that was opinion one. You need a tefach between the two levels. Rav Chizda, Rav Huna, Amri, Arba, right? There's a hey there. Arba refers to tefachim. Arba, right, goes on Amos. Arba, right, because it's backwards, because it's Hebrew. Everything is Israeli is the opposite. Everything Hebrew is the opposite, right? So Arba is a tefach, right? Even though it's zachar with the hey, right? So Arba for tefachim. Because we don't find that something is. What was that?
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
So
because we don't, right? Arba'a with the hay is zachar, right? So and the word tefach is zachar, right? So we say because we don't find a space which is chashuv of less than 4 tefachim, therefore it has to be at least 4 tefachim to be separated. Because if it's less than 4 tefachim, we'll just call it a thick schach. If there's more than 4 tefachim between the two levels of schach, all of a sudden it's no tuma. That was just an example of how much space you need. Yeah. We're talking about sukkah al gabi sukkah. What is the halacha of sukkah al gabi sukkah? What does it constitute? Maybe just call it a thick schach. Huh? So this opinion holds 4 tefachim. So therefore, if you have 2 schach, according to this opinion, which is 3 tefachim one another, it's just called a thick schach. If it's 5 tefachim, it's called 2 levels of schach, sukkah al gabi sukkah, and the bottom one is pasul. The third opinion, which is what you would have thought, Ushmuel Amar, Asara has to be 10 tefachim. My timer. What's the reason why it has to be 10 tefachim between the levels of schach? So my timer, the Shmuel, Kachsher Kach Psula. The same way you make a kosher sukkah is the way you make a quote unquote puzzle sukkah. Ma'achsher be'asara, apsula be'asara. Just like my hachsher sukkah. How much does a sukkah need to qualify in order for me to be able to sit a sukkah? It has to be 10 tefachim. So too. If you want to passel the sukkah underneath it, the sukkah on top has to be a sukkah 10 tefach, right? Logical sense. It has to be a halachic sukkah, right? So Shmuel says that makes sense. Sukkah al gabi sukkah. You don't have a sukkah that's 4 tefachim tall. It's not a kosher sukkah, so you can't call it a sukkah al gabi sukkah. So Shmuel says that shot. So let's see Tanan. So our Mishnah said Rabbi Yehuda Aimer if you don't have people, right, or inhabitants in the top one, the bottom one is kosher. In other words, it sounds like if there's no inhabitants in the top one, then there's no issue of sukkah al gabi sukkah. So my ain diurin. What do you mean there's no one inhabiting the sukkah? If we're talking about actually people upstairs using it, auto diurin kol garmi. What do people inhabiting a sukkah make it a sukkah? Right? We don't care if people are in it or not. Right? It's how was the sukkah built? Right? That doesn't make sense. Elo, rather, what's pshat? Right? Last skinny line on Yudam and Aleph, Elav, my ain't diur. What does it mean, ain't diur? Kol she'ena ru'uya l'dira. Anything that's not fit for dwelling. Vehechi dami, t'leikavomi asar. Right? If it's not taller than 10 tefachim. So in other words, if it's not fit to live in the top one, says Rabbi Yehuda, then it's the bottom one is kosher because it's not sukkah gabi sukkah. Michlal. But you can infer from here that Rabbi Yehuda is arguing on the Tanakama. It must be that the Tanakama argues. Michlal, the Tanakama Savar, Afal Pi She'ena Roi L'Dir Psula. That the Tanakama holds that even though it's not 10 tefachim, it's only 5 tefachim on top. It's no good. So what do you see? So the Tanakama argues with Shmuel. So Kiyas Rav Dimi Amar ben Rava. So when Rav Dimi said, they said, "Oh, this is how the Tanakh Eretz Yisrael. Im ein hatachtoina yechoil lekavo karvekisas shel yoina hatachtoina ksher." The top one, Rabbi Yehuda's pshat wasn't the pshat that it wasn't tall enough. Rather, it meant that the schach, which is basically like the floor of the floor number 2, right? The bottom one's schach is like floor number 2, is not able to hold. It's not strong enough to hold pillows and blankets or cushions, right? So it means if the top one is so weak, right, that you can't even put pillows and the blankets and mattresses are on top. The top one. The floor of the top one.
Floor of the top. The floor of the top.
Right. Right. So then the bottom one is kosher. But you can infer from here the Tanakama Savar Apple Bishain already the Kabbalah Psula. But you can infer from here that nevertheless, the Tanakama would hold that even though it can't hold it, it's still a puzzle. So obviously, the Tanakama does not hold like Shmuel, who held Kachshira Kach Psula. So if that's the case, what's the nafkamina between the Tanakama? So he said, no. Maybe you can say no. Really, if it can't hold pillows and all that, everyone agrees. Even Tanakama would agree. It's the bottom one is still good because it's not a sukkah on top. You can't put anything in it. Rather, we mean if you can put it on there and it's very, very shaky. The Tanakama holds it's no good, and Rabbi Yehuda holds that it does suffice as a sukkah because it could be there, and therefore that does constitute sukkah al gabi sukkah, which is no good because we learned from the pasuk it says you have to sit in a sukkah, not in multiple sukkahs. Fine. Naya Mishnah. Mishnah says pires ala sadin mipnei achama o tachta mipnei nesher. One who goes ahead and he spreads out a sheet, right, to protect it from the sun. Right, it covers it from the sun. It's too hot in there. Cover up with a sheet, or maybe you put it underneath your schach mipnei nesher from the falling twigs and leaves. Right, save your soup. Oh, shapires al gabi akinuf. Or he goes ahead and he spreads, right, a sheet. Spreads on top for the sun, underneath for the leaves, or shapires al gabi akinuf. Or he goes ahead and he spreads a sheet upon like a canopy over a bed, right? You have a bed and the 4 poles over. Oh, shapires al gabi akinuf, psula. It's no good, right? If you know psula is if you're lying underneath it, it's no good. You have not fulfilled your obligation. But one is allowed to go ahead and place a sheet over 2 poles. So 4 poles is no good because when you have 4 poles, the sheet is flat and it's like a cover. It's like a roof. And therefore you're under that roof and you're not under the schach. But if it's 2 poles, right? So a tent, right? Your typical tent, right? Which comes to a point on top because there's 2 poles here, right? Imagine you take 2 poles, put a rope across.
What's the point in the side? It should be posted.
Huh? So it's good. Why?
Different level, of course, but this.
So why is it good? Because since it's a tent, there's no roof. There's no roof, right? Right, it's too narrow, right? We'll soon see that in order for it to be considered to be a roof, it has to maybe come this far apart, and there has to be a flat part on top, a tefach, right? But if it's just diagonal, a diagonal is not a roof because it's half wall, half roof.
This is 6 poles.
No, that's called 2. That's called 2. Yeah, but that's called 2. No.
Okay.
But he's sleeping on the area. He's sleeping in the other area.
But is that only during the daytime or is it nighttime too?
Anytime you're under it. Right. If you want to eat under it, you want to eat it. If you want to eat, right.
Wait, can you do?
You want to eat under the canopy of the bed.
This you learn you can do the schach too.
Over this schach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
So let's see. Yeah. So Amar Chizda lo shanu elo mipnei nesher. We said you want to cover it. You put the cover. It's okay. Lo shanu mipnei nesher, or for the leaves, you put it for that reason, right? To protect yourself. That's okay. When I say that's okay, that's case of psula. It's not okay, right? Lo shanu elo mipnei nesher aval na'isa. But if he does it, he says, this is a beautiful sheet, right? I just knitted it. Right? You put it up for the purpose of that. This sheet. So where says pshita? The Mishnah says, yeah, you put up the sheet to protect yourself from falling things. It's no good, right? But sounds like for other reasons, like to beautify your sukkah, it would be okay. So maybe say no. Maybe for all reasons, even to beautify the sukkah. The reason why it said he puts up the leaf because that's the normal reason why people go ahead and put it in. Kamash Malon, it's dafka for reasons of protecting from the sun or for falling twigs. That is no good. But if you do it up for decoration, it'll be okay. So Levin Messiah, let's say there's a proof. So if a person goes ahead and he makes a proper sukkah. And then and then he goes ahead and puts embroidered or colored sheets. He hangs them up, or goes in shkeidim, and then he goes ahead and he hangs up types of nuts or peaches or pomegranates, which people do nowadays. They hang those up and prachile anavim or clusters of grapes, shishibolas, right? These are all decorations, or grains, or yanas shemanim v'salatos, or different types of flasks of wine or oil or other types of flour. Aser listapik mehen ad matzayantav achra shulchad. You go ahead, you put them up. Those things are muksa, right? Those things have been set aside for the mitzvah of beautifying your sukkah up until the end of until Yontif is over, until all of sukkah is over. He's now layam, and he makes a condition. Hey, I'm going to put this up because I want to go ahead and use it. Before then,
Eat it.
So even to eat it, but the Rashi says the condition is up until Bein Hashmashos. Now I don't want them to become muksa during the original Bein Hashmashos, right? He's not alayam hakol now. You can make it. You can make it tonight. You can make it tonight. But the point is, we started off here.
All of sukkahs.
Right. Correct. Right. So the point why we brought this in is because we were talking about a case of you put up a sheet. They mentioned their sheets. You put in colored sheets, embroidered sheets. So you put up in the sukkah. Sounds like you're putting it up, on top. It's a beautiful Israeli flag. You put it on top. It's Illinois, and that's what you're using it for. And the whole issue is whether you're allowed to use it during Yom Tov or not. But no one says you can't put it up. Sounds like you're allowed to go ahead and put up these sheets. So Gemara says no. Dilma bin Atzad. Maybe what it means is you hang up sheets. It doesn't mean you hang up under the skach. It means maybe you hang up on the wall. And therefore, that's what it was talking about. And Itamar, speaking of which, noise sukkah, sukkah, the noise sukkah does not lower down the sukkah. In other words, if you have your schach, let's say 21 amos, and you have your noise sukkah, your decoration of the sukkah hanging down 2 amos to the 19 amo level, it does not work. That's not considered to be, that doesn't lower the height of the schach, and therefore, it's still, the sukkah is no good. And Amar Rav Ashi Minatzad, however, if it's on the side, let's say you go ahead and you decorate your sukkah with a huge, large stuffed animal, a stuffed bear, right? Then it does take up space. In other words, we do consider space. Why? Because the Lamaisa it's taking up space, and now you can no longer fit your Rosha Rubo V'Shulchano. It was 7 by 7 until I brought in the big stuffed animal that I wanted at the carnival, right? Now, since there's no longer room for my table, therefore, it does actually ruin the sukkah. It makes the sukkah no good. And Minyamin Avdei de Rav Ashi. Minyamin, I guess the certain Rav Ashi, Tmisha le Kasunasa b'Maya v'ish takcha amatalasa. So what happened? He got wet. He got his shirt wet in water, and he wanted to go ahead and he hung it basically on the schach, and that was not for it to dry out. Similar to Rav Ashi, Dalia, go ahead and take it down because we don't want people to think that you're allowed to go ahead and use something which is makabel tuma, right? Like a clothing is not good for skach. You can't cover your sukkah with clothes. So people are going to think you can use a shirt to cover your sukkah. Take it down so people don't think that. People see that it's wet. People are going to know. They're going to see it. They're not going to think that it's my schach. They're going to see that, it's a soaking wet shirt on top of my schach. So he says, no, I mean, once it dries off, then you have to go ahead and take it down so people don't know it. But you see that it wasn't bad otherwise, right? If he's doing it for another reason, he's doing it for noi, but as long as you weren't doing it for protection for your roof, right? You weren't protecting for the sun or you weren't protecting for the leaves, then it would be okay. And Itamar, noi sukkah hamuflogin mimena arba'a. If you have noi sukkah, right, you have hanging decorations, there were more than 4 tefachim from the schach. Rav Nachman Amar Kshera, Rav Chizda, Rav Huna Amri Psula. So Rav Nachman says it's no problem. You can sit under it. It's not considered to be a separate roof, and therefore it's okay. And Rav Chizda, Rav Huna, 4 tefachim of the schach, right? Amri Psula. And others say Psula.
You can put decorating a poster,
right?
It has to be for
Within 4 tefachim, right? So right. So some people are very makbid, right? Not right. So some people are very careful not to hang decorations too far from the schach because then it actually creates some sort of separation underneath the schach. But ask your local Orthodox rabbi. Anyway, so Rav Chizda, Rav Huna, one time Rav Chizda and Rav Huna, who just said it's psula, equal the Reish Galusa. They went to visit the house, the Reish Galusa, the Exilarch. So Agninu Rav Nachman b'sukkah shenoi muflagim min arba. So Rav Nachman, who worked at the Reish Galusa, he sat them in a sukkah which had decorations hanging by more than arba tfach.
Wait, Rav Nachman was the Reish Galusa, wasn't he?
No, he was by the Reish Galusa, right? He was in that,
Head
yeah,
of the household.
right. So he said over there. So he sat them in a sukkah against what they held, and each tiku, they were quiet. They didn't say anything, right? So I'm sorry, I jumped that right. They didn't say anything to him. So he said to them, did you guys chayzer? Right? You guys now no longer say it's a problem. You agree with me. No, we have a separate din. We're shluchei mitzvah. We actually sent here to perform a mitzvah, and therefore we're pater min sukkah. So even though in the sukkah normally we wouldn't sit in, we'll sit in because we're actually pater min sukkah. And Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel says Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, mutter lishein bekila b'sukkah. One is allowed to go ahead and sleep in a kila in a sukkah, right? A kila is a canopy, right? A four-cornered, right? We're going to type with two types of canopies. We're going to deal with something which is four, held up by four poles, which is this that we discussed, and something that is two, that's going to be like this.
Now, we already said before.
Yeah.
You cannot put a sheet over a four-post.
Right.
Four-corner post.
Right. Another right. So let's see. So he says over here. So right, look right. So we have to understand it now. So and even though it has a God, and like Alan's asking, well, slow down there. We just said you can't. The who she'ena gavoa asar. Here's the catch. It's not more than 10 tefachim. It's lower than 10 tefachim.
The top of the canopy?
Yes. The flat part of the canopy. Since it's so low down to the ground, it's not considered to be chashuv. It's not a roof. In order for something to be a roof, even if it's flat, it has to be above 10 tefachim to be a separation.
Wait.
If it's
Even a flat one.
even a flat one. We're only talking about a flat one right now. So a flat one, according to this version, we'll switch to the version. Even if it's makabel tuma, even if it's a flat sheet, right? You have your little, your sheet, your four corner sheet hanging over. It's okay as long as it's less than 10 tefachim from the ground, right? Not from the roof, from the ground, right? Once it's above 10 tefachim, now it's chashuv. Now you're underneath. Oh hell, you're not underneath the sukkah. If it's low down to the ground, it's okay.
10 tefachim we talking about.
Like I don't know, 40 inches, let's say. So off the ground. So you put your mattress on the floor,
Right.
and you put four posts. As long as your posts are,
And again, during the day and at night. It doesn't
well, whatever you want to do, fill the mitzvah sukkah.
So
Right.
what if
To sleep there, to eat there, you can make a bracha on there if it was only 30.
you're sleeping on the table? The table is already 10 tefachim up.
So Shaila is it 10 tefachim from the ground or is it 10 tefachim from the area where you're at, right? So the Rashi says minamita the betimah gavo asar lav ohelim, right? So he says 40 from the bed. That's how Rashi understands it. Not 40 from the ground, 40 from the bed. Fine. All right. Now Toshma, come listen. Hayashim b'kila b'sukkah lo yatzei deichavaso. One who goes out and sleeps in a kila, right, is not fulfills obligation. Sort of like Alan was asking earlier. So once again, Hakamai Skinan Shavo Asara. That over there was talking about when it was higher than 10. If it's higher than 10, then you're not fulfilling your obligation. Lower than 10, no problem. Meisvi has another question. One who sleeps underneath the bed, right? Now there's a bed with the bed frame. You go underneath the bed, it's like a ohel for you. It's like a cupboard, right? I am fulfilling your obligation.
Under the mattress?
So you go under the bed, right? That's a bed, right? You go underneath the bed, right? Good hiding place as a kid, right? Underneath the bed, right? So once again, we're talking about if it's a bed where the mattress is more than 10 tefachim, a very high bed, off the ground, right? Then that's talking about the case of where you've not fulfilled your obligation. But if it's lower down and you just go underneath it, no problem. Tashma, come listen. Osha pires agabe kinofos psula. Or you go ahead and you spread it upon kinofos, right? And kinofos are we'll soon see those are 4, right? 4 posts. So osha pires agabe kinofos psula. So once again, Hasanami, there could be Asar. Well, yeah, when it's above 4, it's no good. No, it doesn't say that. The Tanya we're learning a Brisa. Naklitin Shnayim, the Kinofas Arba. Now, when it comes to canopy beds, right, or canopies, Naklitin is 2 posts, right? That was like the teepee, right? Not teepee, I mean a tent, right? A tent, right? The Kinofas Arba. And Kinofas is 4 pegs, right? So Naklitin is 2. We'll be discussing it for a little bit. And Kinofas are 4. And Pires Agabi Kinofas, Psula, if one goes ahead and spreads it upon the Kinofas, right, the 4, it's Psula. Agabi Naklitin Kshera. But on the 2 posts, right, the tent, then it's Kshera. Ubilvad, Shaloye, Naklitin Gavo Minamita. Asar. As long as the Naklitin, right, the 2 are not higher than 10. Michlal. So you can infer that the 2 are okay as long as they're not higher than 10. But we said the other ones are no good. The kinofos, that the 4-cornered one, right, the flat sheet, it sounds like even if those are not 10, it's no good. The Gemara answers, Shani kinofos de kavi. Now, kinofos are different. Because kinofos are more kavua. It's already a canopy basically built in, right? It's already there. Since it's more kavua, then even if it's less than 10, so now there's a new level, right? There's the tent, right, or the tent shape, right? There's the one where you just spread out a sheet, right? That's the middle one. That one.
Which is the kinofos, and which is the
Kinofos is 4. Naklitin is 2.
Kinofos is 4.
Yes. Naklitin is 2.
Naklitin is 2.
Naklitin is 2. Right. Now, this case, right, or this case right here, always good. You spread a sheet out, according to the way we're going now.
Less than 10.
What about this?
That's the same thing. That's nothing.
That's like this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So like this, right?
Always good.
Always good. Like this, if you spread a sheet out,
Right.
it's less than 10.
Right.
If it's something which is structurally built like it, even less than 10, because that's what we're saying. That's the case of Naklitin, right? That was the case of Kinofos, right? So we said no, Kinofos is different because that Shani Kinofos de kavi, because those are merkavua. I vare sukkah gabi sukkah de kvi. What do you mean sukkah gabi sukkah? Which is kavua v'amar shmuel dachsher kach psula. Even by sukkah gabi sukkah, when the sukkah is on top, right? So we still need it to be 10 tefachim, the sukkah on top. So why don't we say over here that the roof for the kinofos has to be 4? So they say to pasan the nivsil sukkah biasara over there to pasel another sukkah to make a din sukkah. Then you need 10. However, but over here, right, when we're talking about this canopy bed, which is built in, we're only talking about you need to make an ohel. You need to make an ohel. Therefore, you don't need the requirement of 10 tefachim. Nami havi ohel. It's still an ohel. So therefore, it comes out the same. We didn't, we didn't jump from our interpretation. And Amar Rav Tachlifa Baravimi Amar Shmuel Hayashiv Kila Arum. One who goes in and sleeps in his tent naked. Maitzi Raisha Chutz Kila V'Karei Kriyashma. Right. One is not allowed to go ahead and say Divrei Kedusha without wearing clothing. You have to cover up a separation. So what? You know what a separation is? I'm in a tent. I stick out my head, so my body is in a tent. My head is in another rishus, because that is considered like it's covered, and therefore I can say Kriyashma. So Meisvei Yasu Kasha Hayasha Megillah Arum Lo Yatsi Rosho Chutz the Kila V'Karei Kriyashma. One goes ahead and is lying in a tent. And then a kila, not a tent. Kila is a spreadsheet, right? So I can't go ahead and stick a sense of kriyashma. We just said before you could. So when it's taller than 10, then it's considered to be, it's not considered to be basically covering his body. Since it's above 10, therefore it's not a separation.
What if he had a sheet or a blanket over him, like all these?
So that would be okay. That would be okay. So Achanami over here, he's using the cover as his his clothing, or as his separation. And Achanami is logical to say, because the statement says what's it similar to? It's like a person who's in his house and he's naked, and he sticks his head out and he says, "Oh, my body's here, my head's there, it should be okay." No, since it's more than 10 tefachim, right? Since it's a house, it will not work. Shmami no. right? Ubayis, I just want to get to the Mishnah. I know it's not so late yet, but real quick. Ubayis nami, because remember we're going to fall behind next week. Ubayis nami alpha pishen gabo asara, and a house, even though it's not 10 tvachim, came into be oilu to like garami kinofis. And a house obviously is very kavua. Therefore, even if a house is less than 10 tvachim, it would still qualify as an ohel, and it's not any worse than a kinofis, which say a canopy bed built in is considered to be kavua, even if it's less than 4 tvachim. Listen, Karina. Some have a different version of what we just said. Some say Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Mutter Lishain the Kilas Chasanim. All right, the other one was Kila. This is Kilas Chasanim, right? This is a Kilas Chasanim, right? The Suga Lafi Shein La Gad, right? So Kilas Chasanim, right? It's a slanted roof, right? Right? It's a slanted roof, like the case, it's like the tent, right? Kilas Chasanim, like the case of the tent, right? Slanted, right? Now, but there should be Kilas Chasanim, but Sukkah, the fish chain, the guy doesn't have a roof. And Alpha Bishigavasara, even if it's 10 tvachim, because it doesn't have a roof. So Meis Vesukasha, Yoshem Akila. Now this just says Bekila, Basukah. Remember, this Kilas Chasanim is 2 poles. Kila is 4 poles, right? Kilas Chasanim, right? So now we ask the Kasha, Hayosh. What?
We use the same term of kilo.
No, one is Kilas Chasanim.
That's 2 poles.
Right, slanted, and
So
the
that's
Kila
like
is flat. That's the same thing. Naklitin is, we'll soon see, right? So now, Hayashim Bekila with Sukkah, one who sleeps on a flat sheet, right, and a Sukkah covering him. He's not filled his obligation. Why? Since it has a gag, it's no good. But in the case, right, but in the case of Kilas Chasanim, there is no gag, right? Because it comes to a point, there's no flat area on top. So Tashma, come and listen. Naklitin, Shnayim. Naklitin was L'chayra, right now we think is the same thing as Kilas Chasanim, right? Is 2 poles. Kinofos is Arbaz, 4 poles. So Piras Al Gabi Kinofos, if you go ahead and spread a sheet on top of the Kinofos, the 4, Psula. It's no good because it's flat. Al Gabi Naklitin, Kshera. If you do it on the 2 poles, it's Kasher. Ubuvashli Naklitin, Gavomin Amita, Asar Tfachim. As long as the naklitin are not more than 10 tefachim off the bed.
Off the bed?
Yeah, off the bed. That's how Rashi did, right over here. Alamita. Naklitin gavoa min amita asar tefachim. Gavoa min amita asar psula. Af bishin agag. Well, I understand. Sounds like if it's more than 10, even though it's the tent, there's no roof, right? It's no good. You just said before, Kilas Chasanim, we don't care about, doesn't matter how tall it is, there's no roof, even over 10 tefachim. Here it seems to say that something was more than 10 tefachim is no good if there's no roof. So the answer is, Shani Naklitin, the Kavi. Naklitin, this type of bed with the built-in 2 poles, that is more kavua. Since it's more kavua, therefore, if it's 10 tefachim, it's considered kavua, it's considered to be a roof, an ohel, and therefore it's no good. But just Stam Kilas Chasanim is more temporary, therefore that's okay. So where says Ikavil Lavi Kinofis? Well, if you're telling me that 2 poles, the kinifin is kavua, let it be like the kinofis, the 4, which is possible even less than 10 tvachim. So it says Lagabi Kav is like kavil, Lagabi Kila the kavil. When it comes to compare to the kinofis, that is not considered to be kavua, therefore it has to be at least 10. But when it comes to the Kilas Chasanim, right? It's confusing because it says Kila here. When it comes to Kilas Chasanim, then it is more kavua, and therefore if it's above 10, it's no good. Darash Rabba Baravuna Mutter Lishen Bekila Afo Pishleish Gag. One is allowed to go ahead and sleep in a kila. It's 4 corners, flat sheets. Even though it has a gag, even though it's higher than 10. So come on, who is this like? Rabbi Huda. This is like Rabbi Huda. The Amar lo asi ol arai umavatal. This is like Rabbi Huda, who holds that a temporary structure is not mavatal ol keva, right? So in other words, since you have your sukkah, which is built, okay, and you just put a sheet over yourself, right, or above, 4 corners, that's an ol arai. That's temporary, and that is mavatal. That doesn't nullify the fact that you're in a sukkah. You're still in a sukkah.
Even if it's
10 tefach, right? The Tanakh and Misham Rabbi Yehuda noagim hayna lishin tachas amita mipnei zakenim. We used to go ahead and sleep underneath beds in front of the zakenim. They didn't say anything. They didn't say boo to us. Obviously, you can sleep underneath something. You want to sleep under your table Friday night or whatever it is, Shabbos, right? You're sleeping there. You can't turn off the light, right? In the sukkah, sleep on the table, right? The Zaken didn't say a word. Why don't you say the halachas like Yehuda? If it's have a mean, I would have thought Hani Mili Mita. Maybe that was just a bed. Because the bed is really made on top. The reason why, because it's made for on top. So if you're underneath it, that's for sure considered to be a temporary cover, right? You're underneath a bed. It's not really made for cover. But a four corner with the sheet on top, the right? That's made for a canopy that's made to go underneath it. Maybe I would say you can't do it. Kamash Malon. Therefore, comes to teach you, therefore, it comes to teach you that we go by the Svar of Yehuda, that an Oal Arai is not Mavatal or Keva, Leishna Mita, Leishna Kiva. Any type of form, anything which is not Kavua is not Mavatal, the fact that you're in something which is more permanent structure, such as a Sukkah. Stop here, Shkech, everybody. Everyone have a wonderful Shabbos. Be fast. Mr. Shem, if Mashiach doesn't come, then otherwise we'll see you guys in Eretz Yisrael.
So, you're here Monday.